Okay, so as I mentioned, we are hosting this for the first time on the Zoom platform. We'll have ASL interpreters spotlighted and visible during the presentation. We ask to make sure that you are muted throughout the presentation, and we do encourage you to use video if possible. Today's session is being recorded, and at a later date, it will be uploaded to the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities website. So thank you again for being here. We have a very full agenda today. We'll be discussing the DSP workforce, Medicaid updates, the Ohio ISP updates with community life engagement, housing, and the Ohio Housing Finance Association updates for families, and we'll have an opportunity to speak with our leadership. So in the interest of time, we're going to jump right into the agenda, and I'm going to hand it over to Ann Wysant with we can discuss the DSP workforce.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Ann Wysant. I am the manager of provider resources and support for the department. Our unit recently transitioned over to the policy division, and we're working with Corey and his team and others within our division. So we're really excited to be here, and again, appreciate the invitation. So I just wanted to quickly give you an update on some of the current workforce initiatives, some of the work that we've been doing, even some of it going back to COVID, because a lot of the work that we started doing in provider and resources and support was really related to supporting providers through the pandemic. And then obviously we found that a lot of the workforce issues that were coming out of the pandemic were really bringing to the forefront a broader understanding of the workforce crisis that was existent before the pandemic, but was really exemplified by the pandemic. And so we have within our department a large group of regional team members. So most of our divisions have subject matter experts that are the team members assigned to certain counties to help them through a number of technical assistance needs and things like that. And of specific interest are the DODD regional liaisons and the DODD community resource coordinators. And the roles of those staff have always been to support individuals. So those are folks that teams can reach out to who may say, hey, we are facing some challenges. We need some connections to resources and things we may not be aware of in order to help support this individual. And how does that fit into workforce? And how we've connected that to workforce is that many times by getting the regional liaisons and community resource coordinators connected with the teams to support the needs of the individuals, we're able to offset a provider giving notice to an individual and saying, hey, we can no longer serve this person. You know, we're at the point where they need 2-to-1 staffing because of our workforce issues. We don't have the staffing for that. And we can give recommendations that may alleviate the need for extra staffing, may help the person be more successful. Again, so we consider that part of supporting the system around workforce. We also have the DODD Provider Crisis Support Plan. This is a support plan. It's a tiered system in which providers who are facing workforce crisis or other emergencies are asked to, first of all, evaluate their internal systems and the resources available within their own organizations. Second step, then reach out to the local county boards to, again, identify and brainstorm options that may be available at the local level, things that we at the department may not have knowledge of because it is so specific to that community or that area of the state. And then finally, if the provider and the county board who have worked together need additional supports from the department, that's reaching out to myself and my team so that we can then help at the department level with things that might be necessary. For instance, we have had some providers who've had to temporarily relocate individuals who live in congregate settings because of staffing shortages at a particular setting. And in order to do that, the department has gotten involved to help with appropriate rule waivers that might allow them to increase the capacity temporarily at a setting in order to serve folks while they are working with our team on recruitment and retention efforts. We also partnered with the Ohio Department of Aging about a year and a half ago, well, about 2 years ago, to implement the R3AP program. That is a rapid assistance program. Unfortunately, it's only funded to assist ICFs in Ohio. But what that program does allow is for ICFs and nursing homes. That's why we partnered with ODA, because they are using it for their nursing homes. But it allows those two provider types to reach out to the Ohio Department of Aging and be connected with some vendors who are offering temporary staffing support. So that program is available to ICFs who are experiencing workforce crisis. Obviously, many of you are probably aware of the DD Workforce Crisis Task Force. They will be wrapping up their 2-year mission of identifying recommendations to DODD and other state agencies around addressing the workforce. So that initiative has been ongoing. We're super excited about DSPU. That is a partnership with the Ohio Alliance of Direct Support Professionals and the Ohio Department of Education to fund opportunities for local high schools, local vocational schools, to bring a DSP training curriculum into the school year, offer that curriculum to students who have an interest in working in the DD field, and then at the conclusion, those students receive a certification, and then there's assistance in connecting them with agency providers who are looking for staff. So again, we're hoping that that is the beginning of a new generational pipeline into the DD workforce in Ohio. We also, in the 1st of June, just put out the DSP Magnet Training Series. This is a training series really geared towards agency provider HR directors to help them traverse the recruitment world, ideas and strategies on writing good job descriptions, job ads, interviewing techniques, ways to address ghosting, and other things that the current workforce market is dealing with. We're also working to develop a provider support community of practice, again, connecting providers with their local county boards for assistance at the local level when it comes to recruitment and retention. The department has been engaged with Station MD in a pilot project to help increase access to virtual medical appointments and visits, again, thus decreasing the dependency on direct support professionals to maybe have to go sit in an emergency room with someone for 6 or 8 hours. They can be triaged and receive an evaluation virtually. And then we just finished DSP Forum and DSP Survey. The DSP Forum in December and January was an opportunity for us to go around the state face-to-face, meet with direct support professionals, and really hear from them. What is important to them? What are the things that help keep them engaged in their job, and to help encourage folks to maintain employment within the system? And we got tons of valuable feedback, which we're using to drive some future work. Same thing with the DSP survey. The Nysonger Center sent this out to approximately 5,000 DSPs and got numerous responses back, sharing, again, information vital to helping us frame future work around workforce initiatives. Next screen. And so what does the future look like? Well, obviously, right now, the governor and legislators are working on the upcoming budget. There has been a historic investment proposed in the budget for the DD system, including investment for initiatives aimed at recruiting and retaining DSP. The budget isn't final yet, so we do have to wait for that. But once we have an idea of what that funding is going to look like, we can begin moving forward with some initiatives around the recruitment and retention of DSPs in Ohio. We'll be looking at ways to identify opportunities for additional professional development. We heard a lot from DSPs in the survey and at the forums about how important professional development was, recognizing that this is a career, that this is a profession, helping them be respected as professionals. Also, decreasing the duplication related to onboarding. People often get stuck at that onboarding step in the process. And that's where we hear that a lot of folks don't return. And then also social services to direct support professionals, such as helping them connect with resources that can help them with transportation needs, even housing needs, things that DSPs need that, if not addressed, could lead to them leaving employment. Real-time resources and supports, helping them on the job when they need help, and ways to connect DSPs with individuals and families who are seeking their supports to help make those connections. So those are some of the things that we are looking at as part of our future planning and ways to utilize any funds that might be invested in the budget towards workforce initiatives. So thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Anne. Thank you for sharing with us. Does anybody have any questions? Anne, do you have time to answer a few questions for us?
Certainly, more than happy to.
And I see, Corey, do you see any questions in the chat at this time? Nope. Okay. Thank you so much, Anne. After this presentation, we will have ways to contact the folks who have presented. So thank you, Anne, for your time today. Next up, we will be discussing some updates from our Medicaid department, and we have Nyoka Cradoff. Thank you, Nyoka.
Sure, thank you for having me. So I don't really have anything formal. I really just wanted to jump on and speak to everyone about kind of where we are with things. We, as most of you know, I'm sure, had all of some draft rules out on our unwinding efforts from the pandemic. And so those draft rules had been out for comment. So we right now closed those comments last week, and we are in the process right now of evaluating all of the wonderful feedback that everyone gave us, taking a look at all of that, and we will be responding to all of those comments and then looking at what changes we might need to make based on those comments in those rules and moving forward in the next step of the rule making process. So I just really wanted to let everyone know that we really value that and that we are looking at all of that right now. And we'll be making, responding to all of that and making those changes, and then see if anyone had any questions or anything related to, there's just lots happening. So if there's any questions that I can answer, because certainly there's some things that are very much unknown right now, but I'm happy to answer anything. And of course, we have other things going on. Medicaid's a big program. So if there's other things going on in Medicaid that you have questions about, I'm also happy to answer that as well, if people have anything. We get ongoing questions through our TA unit. So I think people are getting, hopefully their questions answered and their needs met through that as well. So, if people don't have questions, that's fine too. that maybe shows that we're addressing those as they happen. So that's wonderful. But we are available if people have anything.
Oh, Nate, I do see that you have your hand up.
I don't know if I count because I'm internal, but I'm curious, Naoka, do you have any updates on waiver modernization?
An update on waiver modernization. I think they're holding focus groups and things right now. So I think that's really where we are on waiver modernization. Just getting the feedback from those focus groups at the moment and holding some surveys and things like that, Nate. So I don't have anything other than that.
Naoka, we do have a question in the chat. Can you touch on families of young medically fragile children who are losing Medicaid and what the next steps they should take?
Because of the Medicaid eligibility process, I assume is what they're talking about.
I suspect so. Lori, you're welcome to unmute and provide clarification for your question.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm asking about. Family had qualified in the last couple of years during COVID, and then now the child does not qualify, although they have medical issues and deafblind and so forth.
Mm-hmm. So has the child applied for a waiver of any sort?
I did encourage the family to do that. Now, someone yesterday mentioned the Ohio home care waiver they should also apply for. Okay.
Correct. Yes. That's why I said waiver of any sort, because certainly they could apply for other types of waivers as well. So I would definitely encourage that. They of course have to have a need for a waiver service. They can't apply just strictly for Medicaid eligibility, but oftentimes they do. If they're, if they have a lot of needs, they can benefit from other waiver services as well.
And then Naoka, there's a question. Are there any future changes you're considering to improve the provider certification system?
I wonder if that's a system question or is that a certification? I wonder if the person could tell me a little bit more. Is that a system question or is that a certification process question?
Hi, Naoka, it's Amy.
Oh,
Awesome.
hi, Amy.
It was
Hi.
me. I've been
Yes.
getting a lot of feedback from family caregivers who are applying to be their child's homemaker personal care and/or Ohio shared living provider.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of confusion and unclear instructions online. So I was curious if you've been receiving that same feedback and if there are any future updates to that system that we can help with.
I'm assuming a lot of this is related to the PNM, the new Medicaid system. So that's why I'm asking. So I don't think we plan future changes to that system. I think right now it's just a matter of completing that implementation to that system, because I think that's what we're dealing with, is that system is not yet fully up and running. And that's why people are running into these issues. So I don't think we plan any future system updates there. I think it's just a matter of getting that all, and I don't know if we have an IT person on the line. Is Ed or anyone on here to save me? But because I'm not a system person, but I think we're just waiting for that system to get fully functional, honestly, to get everything up to speed.
I didn't know it wasn't fully functional. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know. I should probably not. I mean, I don't know that. Maybe I shouldn't have said it that way. Maybe I shouldn't have said it that way, Amy. Don't quote me. We're being recorded, aren't we?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So yes, Amy, it doesn't flow very well all the time. So,
okay. So if families I interact with in the future, who should can I direct them to you, or who should I direct
Yes,
them?
you can
to?
direct them to me and then I will make sure I connect them with someone.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Sure.
Can I ask?
Meredith, for future, I will not answer system questions. Sorry. Okay. Who's
Is-
next?
Hi, can I talk? I don't know if anybody can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, this is Kim Musgrave.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, I'm a parent, and I want to just personally say that thank you, Nyoka, for connecting me with Mindy Sadler.
Uh-huh. Yep.
She has been very helpful. And so she did say that the P&M system is certainly working out the bugs.
There we go. Yeah.
Yes, that's what she said. And so I kind of helped make her aware of some of the issues we were having. I was helping my daughter-in-law get certified as a provider. And I don't know if this is this a good place to maybe let you all know some of the issues that we had. Because some of them are kind of related back to, there could be more detail on the DODD side, like there's a provider, an independent waiver provider checklist.
Mhm.
And so some of the things on there, like for example, we did not know that it takes 10 days to get your payee ID. That's one of the steps in the top section of the checklist. And so it would be helpful to have something like that, to know that ahead of time, so that, you know, one of your first things you do is try and register for the payee ID, because that's needed when you start the whole, registration process. Once you're trying to do the application process, you're going to need that payee ID. And obviously it allows you time, the program allows you time, to get back on and add that in. But it would have been helpful. We thought we had everything ready, and oh, wait, we got to do the payee ID. And we've still actually, it's taking more than 10 days, way more than 10 days actually, to get the payee ID. And we actually hit a lot of roadblocks. Just, it seemed like we called customer service a million times. It took us over a month just to get through the, trying to sit down. Okay, let's call today and let's sit on hold for this long this day. And then, well, we can't answer it. We'll send you over there. I will add that we are very, very thankful that we did have phone numbers to call, because without that, it would have been way more frustrating.
Mhm.
We at least are thankful that on the DODD side, and then we also had like a P&M provider support person that we talked to. So at least that was, we were very thankful for that. I think that is an addition, especially on the Medicaid side. I think a little while ago, DODD started having more provider support on the phone,
Yeah.
but yeah, so there was things like that, and things that we noticed that I don't know. Do you want me to stop telling you the problems
So,
we had?
yeah, I can definitely commit to looking through that information to, try to expedite anything on the certification process that we possibly can. I can certainly do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk with me, I can tell you
Yeah.
all the different problems that we had. I mean, it's just simply, some of it's just simply clarifying, because you're a nervous wreck when you're getting ready to upload your documents onto the application, and you want to make sure it's right, so that you're not then told, you wait a month for your certification, then you get informed that something was wrong.
Sure.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for sharing. Thank you, Nyoka, for your time.
Absolutely.
Kim and, folks on the call, I do want to remind you that at the end of the presentation, I will send contact information. So if you do have specific questions about your personal situation, you will have folks that you can reach out directly to provide technical assistance. And thank you so much. I do want to move along in our presentation. Nyoka, again, I appreciate your time. And we are going to jump into our Ohio ISP updates, and I'll pass it along to Beth Chambers.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'll give some quick updates. Most of all, just want to make sure everyone knows what the Ohio ISP is. standardized assessment and planning template and process to be used throughout the state. The person and their family drives the planning process. And really, it's just to kind of streamline what has happened across Ohio. There are 88 county boards and hundreds of intermediate care facilities. So really, there were lots of different ways, templates, processes that were being used for planning. So we really wanted to streamline that and make sure we were using a consistent process for people to be able to move around Ohio, and for everyone to kind of focus less on the actual template and really look at the good stuff, the person-centered information that's going to vary from person to person. So the Ohio ISP, it can be used for anyone, but people receiving waiver services and living in ICFs must have a plan, an Ohio ISP in the online system by June 30th, 2024. And obviously we're a couple of weeks away from the deadline a year out. So we know people plan in advance. So we're really getting in there and supporting teams as they're moving forward with this. In that, I want to say that we have a group of regional support facilitators. They're also called the RSFs. And there's a regional map. Those support facilitators are the faces of the Ohio ISP. So they are very knowledgeable about the template, the reasons behind the switch to Ohio ISP, the template, the process, the online system, the expectations. So they can be kind of that liaison towards if you're having problems with access or some of the easier IT fixes. So they can be kind of the bridge. Anything Ohio ISP related, you can reach out to them and they will at least point you in the right direction. So they're a great group of folks who want to roll up their sleeves, meet people where they are in this process, and really support you through moving towards Ohio ISP, what to expect, and how we to provide ways in which we can provide support and assistance. And it's happening. There are over 5,500 plans currently in the system. That's from intermediate care facilities, providers, county boards, and providers are starting to get a glimpse at, what those plans look like. So we're really interested in hearing from people on how this is working for you. We've got some meetings set up, and I think they're going to give us a lot more information about some providers that provide services in multiple counties who use maybe Salesforce, which is the DODD system. And then there are two vendors. There's Britco and Primary Solutions that are software companies that they have the general content within their system that transfers to the DODD system. So we have providers who are seeing plans from a multitude of different areas. It's the same content, it's required, but what people can expect in the different ways it might look, or if you're not experiencing, or if you're not used to seeing it, how can we help that be as easy and streamlined as possible so that we can support all team members in this. So the next slide, Ohio ISP, the best piece of advice I can give you is reach out to your SSA or QIDP for information on what to expect with timelines for transitioning to Ohio ISP. And there's a lot of support. Different counties are at different places, different ICFs are at different places. So that person you reach out to, the service coordinator, the program coordinator, they're called lots of different things, but it's that sort of case manager function, where is the person who helps you with those services and supports, who writes that plan, assists with that. That's the best person you can reach out to see what you can expect moving forward. And then we have an email address listed below. That is checked quite often, a couple times a day. So there are responses that can be generated through there. We try to get patterns and trends pulled out of those. Emails and questions that come in. We've developed frequently asked questions, some content that's posted on our website. And then there's the website listed below also that has just numerous resources, videos, kind of what to expect, any history or supporting documentation, any resources, some documents that might help you understand more the details around Ohio ISP. I went through that pretty quick. Any questions that anyone has?
Thank you so much, Beth,
Thank
for your
you.
time. Thank you for your presentation. And I'm trying to multitask and see across the screen if anybody has unmuted or if they have any questions for Beth. And I don't see any unmutes or hands up. So thank you so much. And again, we will share your information and oh, Corey has a hand up.
Yeah, there are some questions here in the chat I will share. So Beth, one of the responses is they're hearing from families of complex medical issues of children. The new ISP isn't working for them and their child's needs. It's one of the comments we have here.
Okay, and I would love to look into that a little further. We are really working with teams to see how we can use what is in place. I just had a conversation about the intermediate care facilities, like some of the issues we're dealing with right now, the complex medical needs. There's same kind of issue with complex behavioral needs. What we're trying to do is walk through maybe some of those complicated cases. If we can even have those conversations about, do you have a plan that's currently in place for someone that we could learn from? We've developed some example plans, and those are good resources. We walk through those and try to show people how it can fit into what's existing, using similar processes and terms that were used in the previous plans, so we can help navigate some of those conversations. We do have some resources that help people know how to locate that information. We do want to make sure nothing gets lost, so we'd be happy to take a look at any examples of what you're struggling with, what teams are facing. So you can reach out at any contact information below. You can send a specific email to the email address, and we can reach out to you and kind of walk that through. But we are seeing, we've had some success with getting in there with teams when they're saying, we don't know what to do with this information, we're not sure how this fits, and we're able to kind of give some support and technical assistance to help guide them through that process.
Thanks, Beth. And then one of the
Thank
other
you.
questions we have here is, what's the timeline for all counties to use the Ohio ISP?
The deadline for people using the system right now, the only requirement is for people receiving waiver services and people living in ICFs. So all of those plans need to be converted and entered into the Ohio ISP online system by June 30th of 2024. So there is no requirement as to when exactly the county board must start using this, but it must meet those timelines. So we do know that lots of people are in process. We are keeping in close contact. As I mentioned, BritCo and PSI, we have meetings with those entities every week, at least weekly. We have ongoing conversations. So we're really aware of what counties are in the system, what counties are prepared, kind of what schedule, what their timelines look like. So we're following that along very closely. But again, the only requirement right now is for the waiver recipients and people residing in an ICF to have a plan in the system by June 30th of 2024. Hope that helps.
Thanks, Beth. And then I've got one more question here, and I know it's different from county to county, but the question is, can providers and parents access the ISP online in Franklin County?
Not currently. They will be able to, they should have the plan, they should be able to get that in the manner that they have. We are working to close some of those gaps. That's one of the meetings that we have now, because it's a little tricky if a county board is using one of those vendors that we mentioned, the BritCo or Primary Solutions. To be considered a final plan, it must be transmitted to the DODD system, which is Salesforce, and it's kind of the source of truth. So I don't want to get too in the weeds. It's a little bit complex of process, but right now they might be able to go in and view the plan in one of those systems, but the Franklin County has not transmitted plans into the DODD system of Salesforce. everyone will have access to that Salesforce platform to be able to get in there, see the plans, and access through that. So there, we can get information. I'd be happy again to walk through some of that specific information. If you've seen a plan, if you've looked at it and had some questions about where does that fit into this timeline, or is it considered a final plan? We could walk through that, but as Corey mentioned, it looks different everywhere right now. But one of the main pros of doing this is to really empower team members and to allow them to have access to the online system so that changes can be made easily. People are up to date in real time as things happen. So we're working towards that, and we'll be happy to help you navigate that.
Thanks, Beth.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you again, Beth, for your time. And folks, we will be sharing Beth's contact information and information for the Ohio ISP team with more, if you have more questions and concerns. So thank you. We will move right along to our community life engagement team update. And we have Keith Banner.
Hey, Meredith, I didn't get the memo. I have my own set of slides. Sorry. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thank you for putting up with me. I'm gonna share it now. Get it all ready to go. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Thank you.
So I'm Keith Banner, and I'm the Community Life Engagement Project lead statewide for our team. And basically, our Community Life Engagement team is regionalized. We have 5 Community Life Engagement project managers that help people with developmental disabilities make informed decisions to pursue their employment goals and dreams, collaborate and innovate across systems, and ensure access and availability of supports while prioritizing innovative tech, and basically trying to help the field, the system kind of point toward supporting people and their families to have the best lives they can have based on what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. And under this umbrella of community life engagement is also the Employment First and Tech First initiatives, which we run. There's our logos for both. Also, we are interested in trying to figure out what innovation means to the system. So we sponsored this year in April and May an innovation series around employment technology, supporting people with complex needs, transition from school to adulthood, and planning and outcomes. And we had virtual sessions on those topics, and then we ended it with in partnership with other members of the Quality Innovation team to sponsor an in-person innovation summit. All these sessions can be tapped into through the Employment First website at that link, and I'm going to send the slides to Meredith so she can send it out to you guys with all these links. But we had a really good keynote from Carol Combs, a family member who just knocked it out of the park. And I would suggest, if you want to kind of tune into that if you have time. We also are working with Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. They're the vocational rehabilitation agency in Ohio. They received the grant.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Folks are reporting that they are not seeing your slides.
Huh. It says I'm sharing my screen. Sorry, guys.
Now we see works for me on the screen now.
Okay, cool. I'm going too fast. Maybe I'll slow her down a little bit. So anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about Works for Me, which is a 5-year federal grant that Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities received, and we're partnering with them to support folks who are in sub-minimum wage employment through shelter workshops to kind of pivot toward getting a job in the community. And we just hired a project manager to kind of oversee that work, and her name is Marissa Morelli. Also wanted to mention that on our Employment First website, we also have a lot of resources around transition. And one of the main kind of tactic strategies we try to figure out is pulling together multi-agency teams to kind of help folks transition from school to adulthood. And that would include OOD, DD, the school, any other person or system that helps people move into the community after school and get a job. So on our website, you can look through the MAP, multi-agency planning strategies and tools and resources. We also have an outcome tracking system that we stood up in 2019 that gives us information around employment and day services for folks, which is really important as we make decisions on funding and other issues. So, and also we are able to tell a data story around employment. And since in 2019, we've seen a 21% increase in competitive employment statewide, and you can see the numbers. And 20% of people are competitively employed in the last reporting year, 2021. We just finished up 2022's reporting period. So we'll be having that data up on the website here and probably in the fall. You can see some more information from the outcome tracking system here around the percentages of people employed in food prep and are servicing. 33% of people are employed in sales related occupations, and then 24% of the people that are in the outcome tracking system that are reported are employed in building and grounds, cleaning and maintenance. And here's a nice factoid around average wages for people who are competitively employed, who are being supported through the DD system. You can see an increase in wages that have 30% since the reporting period started in 2019. All this data, if you're a data geek around employment services and adult day support, you can go to our website, ohioemploymentfirst.org. There's a big outcome tracking system data page that you can walk through, and it has even more important kind of numbers around employment and day services in Ohio. We also had some grants that we have awarded in 22-23 that are finishing up, trying to help providers of employment and adult day services kind of increase their ability to be more community-based. And we have 9 of those that went through a process of assessment and planning toward innovating their business models to be more agile and more community-based. And we'll have stories about them coming up as soon as the fiscal year is done, so be on the lookout for that. And we have a grant that's now being worked through that's really interesting around pathways to careers for people with developmental disabilities to be able to access post-secondary opportunities, credentials and apprenticeships. And these 4 organizations, Auburn Career Center, Ohio State University, University of Cincinnati, and Youngstown, are all participating in this grant. And we're looking forward to working with them and getting the results and deliverables around people with DD, young people with developmental disabilities accessing new ways to have careers. We also are looking at standing up a pilot project around adult day support quality, defining quality measures to be able to kind of look at adult day and through a new lens of what do we really want to have happen for folks in that service, that day service, and working with providers and county boards, families, and individuals to develop like I said, a quality measure set and helping those providers report out what they're doing so we can kind of pay them for outcomes eventually. And that project begins in October 2023. And again, you can go to that link for more information around that work. We have a lot of grants. We're not going to go through every one of them around supportive technology and tech first in this cycle. A lot of support to providers to look into remote supports, county boards to develop assistive tech tryouts and smart homes. So a wide variety of different projects around supporting technology. And one of the great stories that you can see when you get the slides is this gentleman at Echoing Hills Village. They received a supportive technology for ICF grant in this fiscal year and last cycle. And they were able to purchase OBIs, which are kind of automated feeding devices, like robots that help people feed themselves. And if you go to that video, you'll be able to see this gentleman at Echoing Hills be able to feed himself for the first time. It's just kind of amazing what tech can do. We also have this on our website around the difference between assistive tech and remote supports and how that can kind of sometimes get kind of fuzzy. So we wanted to kind of push that out so that families, SSAs, QIDPs, everybody in the system can kind of have a better understanding of what we're talking about when we talk about supportive tech, and that's on our website. And also on the Tech First page are all these resources that I could list out. I wanted to draw your attention to the Ohio Tech Ambassadors, who just did a great kind of celebration of their project at the State House last week. It's 8 folks with disabilities who go out and talk about how they use assistive tech and remote supports to be independent and to make things happen for themselves. And they're really great spokespeople. And they go out one-on-one to events, just kind of preaching the gospel of technology. And there's other resources here that you can kind of look into if you have the time. And you can also subscribe to our Technology First update, which comes out every month at this link, which kind of just gives you the story behind all the things that are happening around technology in Ohio for people with developmental disabilities. And that's my contact info, and I can stop sharing. Back to you, Meredith, at the news desk.
That was a tremendous amount of information, and I appreciate all of the work and the updates that you guys share and everything that you do. So thank you so much, Keith.
Appreciate everybody else on the call. Thank you.
Sure. Does anybody have questions? I see, Kim, you have your hands up.
Yeah, I was excited to hear that there's a adult day support quality pilot project. That sounds awesome. And so my question is, so, and my thought process, because my son is not currently in a day program, but when he was, I feel, and what I hear from other people is that they really need more staff. And so I'm thinking, to give quality day support and this project that you're getting ready to do, I'm guessing that one of the goals would be to improve the ratio, get more staff so that it is possible to provide more quality supports. And with the DSP crisis going on, I was just curious if what was being talked about as far as that, and yeah, and what the plans are with that pilot project.
I'll go specific to the pilot project, if that's okay, Kim.
Yes.
We have funding available through what we're standing up to support the quality initiative that we have. So we'll be able to expend some money in grants for both technology to support folks, like to health information technology, whatever the provider would need to kind of be able to report out and develop a quality program. And then we're also funding DSP training and through that same kind of quality initiative within that pilot project, and also funding for staffing for the specific to the quality as well. So it is a part of the project. And I wanted to make sure I give a little backstory to it. We developed this pilot with moms, with professionals from provider professionals, county board. So it was a team of folk kind of pulling together to develop the measure set that we're looking at, and also to develop the way that we're going to roll it out. So I'll be communicating more and more, and hopefully I'll be able to come back on and tell you as we get closer to kind of standing it up in October, everything else. But hopefully that answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much. It's good to hear you had so much input to develop that. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. We are a little bit behind on our agenda right now. No worries. So I do want to move on, and if there are more questions, please feel free to chat. But I'm going to hand it over. Thank you again, Keith. That was a lot of information. You guys are busy guys over there. So I'm going to hand it over to our housing specialist, Jeanette Welsh, and she will be introducing our next topic. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And just to clarify, Meredith, we have until 1, correct? So we have about 8 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm going to just spend about 3 minutes talking about what our office does around housing. So Meredith, if you want to just flip to the next slide, that'd be great. Thanks so much. Oh, okay. So first of all, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Jeanette Welsh, and I am the housing manager for the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, but I specifically work within the Capitol office. And I'll just touch on some of the things that our office does around housing. And then I'm going to introduce one of my colleagues, John Dewey from the Ohio Housing Finance Agency, to speak about some of their housing programs. And I think, those may be of continued interest to you. So as we meet in the future, we may want to include other partners. Jonathan will, explain his role. I understand he's a single family relations program manager. So we'll go ahead and wait for questions until the end of our presentation, and I'll just do this quick overview of our office's work. So the first program I wanted to talk about was the Community Capital Assistance Program. My colleague Erin Lichtenauer oversees that program, and these funds have been around since the early 90s. They have resulted in the development of affordable housing in almost every county in Ohio, if not all. Erin works with county boards and their nonprofit housing corporations who use these funds to develop housing for people with developmental disabilities. These funds are somewhat restricted. They can be used for acquisition, rehab, and construction, and the funds are limited to the development of 4-person homes in residential settings. Your county is the best contact, your county board rather is the best contact if you know somebody who is interested in living in a CCA home. And the next program I want to talk to you about is one that I actually work on, and that is a newer program called the Rental Assistance Program. This program was introduced in, I believe it was late 2015, around the money follows the person, grant time, or home choice. And it was really intertwined with that effort to incentivize movement into the community. As such, the program is available to individuals leaving institutional care who are moving into a leased setting. And RAP operates much like a housing choice voucher, if you're familiar with them. We also refer to this as the sometimes Section 8. In fact, the program requires as a threshold requirement that people have actually signed up for a voucher with their local housing authority before we can admit them into the program. Again, this program relies on the county board staff to identify and refer individuals to the program. And another program I want to talk about, again, I think I've spoken with this group before about the program, is the Section 8 PRA program. And the 811 program, we'll call it that for short, is the state's first interagency subsidy program for people with disabilities. We work with the Ohio Housing Finance Agency, mental health and addiction services, as well as Medicaid. Ohio successfully competed for and received 2 HUD grants, which now allows to pair project-based subsidies with LIHTC. The LIHTC meaning, low income housing tax credits. So currently we have this program available in about 35 counties of across the state. We are going to be expanding. We have another grant that we are just now starting to identify units for. So like the rental assistance program, this program relies on county board staff to identify and refer individuals to the program. And last but not least, I really want to impress this on folks. It's important to mention that I'm available for technical assistance and training related to housing. I do this quite a bit with our boards. In the past, I've done a lot of targeted technical assistance and training. Our office is planning to do a much broader based training approach. That's something we're working on now. So the other thing that I do is I do a great deal of partnering with other agencies and departments related to housing planning efforts for all of Ohio's vulnerable populations. And as part of that partnership, I wanted to invite John Dewey from OFA to speak today. And so just to close, use the links in my slides. If you have information, my contact information follows, and I'll hand it over to Jonathan.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Again, my name is John Dewey, and I am the Single Family Relations Manager with OFA, the Ohio Housing Finance Agency. And I'll tell you a little bit about our most popular program, which is our 5% down payment assistance. So if you want to go ahead and advance. Okay, so this is used by about 90% of our home buyers. So it's 5% of the purchase price towards down payment, closing costs, and any other prepaid expenses incurred prior to closing. If a home buyer uses this program, they will have a slightly higher interest rate than our standard mortgage interest rates, and they cannot sell the house for the first 7 years. Otherwise, they have to pay back the entire down payment assistance. So here's an example of somebody who's buying a $100,000 house and they're getting our 5% down payment assistance. So that's 5% of the purchase price. And they're doing an FHA loan, which is a 3.5% down payment requirement. They're going to do 3.5% towards the down payment, 1.5% towards the closing costs, and the approximate out-of-pocket funds for the home buyer would be somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. Now, their mortgage lender would have to give them the exact costs, but this is just an estimate of what their out-of-pocket costs would be to get into a home. So if you want to see if you qualified for one of our homebuyer programs, you're just going to go to our website, myohiohome.org. And on our website, we have all of our mortgage lenders listed, and they will review you and let you know if you qualify for a down payment assistance or any of our other programs.
Thank you so much. That was a lot of great information also. Do we have any questions for these folks regarding housing resources, or how we can get the support for folks living with disabilities and their housing needs?
Meredith, I just want to jump in and say that I get so many questions, a continuum of areas touching housing. Obviously, so many of our people are looking for rental housing. So that's a subject that in the future, if anybody wanted to talk further about that, we could. But I was surprised by the number of people who contact me about the assistance they need for down payments or home ownership. So that's one of the reasons I invited Jonathan today. I don't know if that's the kind of topic in the future that we want to expand on, but it's important for me to just say that if there are specific areas or topics this group would like to hear about, just let Meredith know and we're happy to help. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette, and thank you so much, John, for your time and the presentation and all of the information that you have to share about housing opportunities for folks looking for their first time home. So I'm going to go ahead and give a few updates about our department, in the Family Outreach and Education Department, which is the Ohio Life Force Nexus. So myself, Corey Ferguson, and Nathan Turner all work together closely to provide support for people living with disabilities and people, families of those living with disabilities. So in an effort to engage and learn more about the needs of families and how we best communicate, we have a survey currently. We would love to know more about what information, what topics, and how we can get information out to you, and what's helpful. So in our links that I share later, we will share the links to the family engagement survey. And I would love to hear feedback on what we can do to improve. We also have many newsletters that we have highlighting information from different departments, different divisions within DODD. The Family Connection is one that I share a lot of information, and I'm really happy to share that coming this month, Nathan Turner has been working very hard for Disability Connection. Disability Connection is a newsletter for people living with disabilities, specifically their information. And I see, Nathan, that you're on the call. Do you want to share anything briefly about that?
Okay, I should be unmuted. We anticipate that the first issue of Disability Connection will go live on June 29th, and it's our goal to have Disability Connection be a place where you'll get internal updates from me and Jim, but it'll also be an opportunity for you all to share stories and to share resources from Ohio Ohio and beyond related to advocacy. We're really excited to launch the newsletter, really focused at targeting the people we support and their families and allies.
I'm sorry, Nate, it's a little bit hard to hear you. You may need to adjust your mic. I apologize.
Oh, maybe, I don't know if this is better.
Much better.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just start over. Disability Connection is expected to launch June 29th. It's going to be a newsletter that's directly targeted at the people we support with information, resources, and also advocacy resources from a variety of different places that are focused on your language and representing the voices of people that we support. And it's also going to be a place where you all be able to get updates from me and Jim, and also share stories of your own. So we're really looking forward to launching this at the month, and I will appreciate and take any staff have at nathan.turner@jim.ohio.gov.
Thank you so much, Nate. We're looking forward to this newsletter. And then another project that Nate works on, we're happy to announce season 2 of the DODD podcast hosted by Nathan Turner. So I can share links to that and you can get information about updates, about internal and external resources that are helpful for folks. The first episode of season 2 has already been released. And episode 2 should be coming out soon as well. And now I will turn it over to our DODD leadership. So the intent of this portion of our meeting, of our time together, is to hear firsthand information about issues that may affect people across Ohio. As mentioned before, if you do have a particular comment or concern that is specific to your situation or your family, please feel free to reach out to us. But I will turn this over to Director Kim Howe to answer any questions and share any updates she has. Thank you so much for your time, Director.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be here with you this afternoon. It's different because I can't see your faces, but so, typically I just leave this time open and you all can ask questions or tell me what you'd like to hear about. So we can start there.
And Director, I'm also multitasking and trying to see if anybody has their hand up or if anybody has come off of mute to ask a question or share. Here. I'm going to depend on my second pair of eyes. Mr. Ferguson, do you see anybody has a question?
If no one else has a question, can I go? It's Amy.
Absolutely.
Hi, Amy.
Hello. Hi, Director. Do you mind giving everyone a bit of an update on where we're at with the Senate and the new legislation that was proposed and the Senate has rejected paying parents of minors, and what the next steps are and how that legislation will work?
Of course. So I'll back up just a little bit, Amy. So we have been working with the Ohio Department of Medicaid, DODD has been, to release new rules as we come out of the pandemic to allow caregivers to be paid providers for their minor children. So that's what Amy's referring to. The Senate introduced an amendment that would prohibit the Ohio Department of Medicaid from releasing or writing this rule. So right now we're waiting to see in conference committee if the Senate and House agree to leave that in or if they take it out. I'm hearing that families have really done a great job at advocating and talking with their representatives, and that this potentially could come out during conference committee. So if it doesn't come out during conference committee, the next step would be for the director of Medicaid and I to meet with the administration to talk about the governor's preference. And would he want it to stay in, or would he want to veto this amendment? So that's where we're at right now. I saw someone else had the same question, so let me know if I answered. Let me look at the chat here. I was wondering what the update is on the budget. I heard. So this is a different question. So let me see, did I answer that question fully before I go to Kim Musgrave's question?
So Kim, the other question was, what's the timetable for all of that in regards to the Senate?
Sure. So what is today, the 21st? The House should vote today whether they concur with the Senate amendments or not. We are assuming they'll vote no. Tomorrow morning, the director from OBM will give public testimony on the changes that have happened from the governor's executive budget. And then conference committee would potentially start on Friday, with the hope, obviously, of being done and having something in place by July 1.
Thank you.
Of course. Welcome.
And Kim, did that answer your question, Kim Musgrave? Excellent. Okay. Do we have any other questions or updates?
There's actually a point of clarification here, if I may. Kim Musgrave wrote, "What's the update on the budget?" I think she's clarifying or asking to clarify that DSPs on the DODD side are approved for getting the pay increase, but Medicaid and Medicare providers are not getting the pay increase. Is there anything we can do about this?
Thanks, Amy. So I'm not sure exactly what pay increase you're referencing. Nothing is approved yet. We have to wait till we get through the entire budget process before we really know. But the governor's executive budget had $16 an hour. The House increased that to $17 an hour in year 1 and $18 an hour in year 2. And that's across all waivers. The new development is the county boards of developmental disabilities have offered an additional $1 for the DD waivers. That $1 would not be for the Medicare, or I'm sorry, the Medicaid waivers or the aging waivers. So it's just that the $1 would be different. Does that?
Sorry, it's
Yeah.
Amy again. Another point of clarification. We got an email from Disability Rights Ohio that said HB 33 only approved pay increases for DD waivers. We need to contact representatives to increase pay rates for Medicaid and Medicare. So I think that's why we're all confused.
You know, then Kim and Amy, I would like to look into that and see exactly what DRO is talking about, because I don't think that's true. I think it's the additional $1 from the county boards of developmental disabilities that would not go across all 7 waivers.
Well, that would make sense that it doesn't, because it's only DD waivers.
That's right, Amy. And so
Huh.
I think there might be some confusion. I have not heard at all that the $17 and $18 proposed by the House, that's for, as far as I know, all HCBS.
Huh. Okay. We'll
But
look
if-
forward to more clarification then. Thank you.
I'll look into that and get Meredith and Corey an answer that they can share with everyone.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Did I
Does
see
any-
somebody else?
I'm sorry, Meredith, either Amy or Kim, is there, you said there's an email from DRO. Do you mind sharing that with someone here on staff?
Sure, I'll forward it to Corey and Meredith.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Did I see any other folks coming off of mute? Don't see any questions in the chat right now.
So obviously budget is the big thing going on right now. And we will communicate with you all as soon as we can, you know, once we have information that I think would be helpful. But I am really glad that as parent groups, as family groups, that you all are communicating with each other and watching what's going on over in the General Assembly.
So I see another question. Is there any update on the proposed rule about shared living and respite being permitted to be billed on the same day?
Yes, so those rules were out for public comment and that period has closed. So internally, we right now are reviewing all the comments and just looking at the details of the rules. So we expect that to be approved. We expect it to go into our waiver amendment once the budget is passed. But I don't have any other details yet.
Thank you for that update and clarification, Director.
Of course. And please know you can reach out to me, Corey, Meredith, anybody on the team, Nate, with questions, and we'll get back to you. You don't have to wait. I mean, this is a great forum, but you don't have to wait for this meeting.
We get lots of questions in between meetings, so I'm happy to answer, or if I don't have the answer, I can always lean on the folks who do know the right things.
Absolutely.
Do we have any other questions before we wrap up today?
I'll just
Go ahead.
thanks Meredith for inviting me and letting me be a part of your meeting.
Thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy with all of the new updates coming up. So I know I appreciate, as well as other families appreciate, just all of the updates and taking time out to really share and spend time with us. So as the director mentioned, you don't have to wait until our next meeting, which is on September 20th. If you have questions in the meantime, you can reach out to me, and later today we will be, or tomorrow, we will be sending out links and information that was shared today. At a later date, we will have a recording uploaded so you can view it and share. And I want to thank everybody, all of our presenters and everybody for sharing so many great updates today. I'm looking forward to hearing from you all. Thank you so much and have a great afternoon.